Hello and welcome to Success is Never Accidental, the show where we get to explore all the different factors that contribute to success. And most importantly, I get to interview some highly successful people. My guest today is Gretchen Swinburne, a top-class navigator who has just won second place in Rally Jameel in Saudi Arabia. Gretchen is from County Monaghan in Ireland, and her day job is as Senior Child and Family Network Coordinator with TUSLA, the Child and Family Agency. And I was running a leadership development program for Gretchen and some of her colleagues, and we were talking about recent successes and not just what had been achieved, but how it had been achieved. When Gretchen piped up and said she was just back from rallying in the Saudi Arabian desert for the past 4 days. So help me welcome Gretchen Swinburne and let's find out how she did it. Hi, Gretchen. How are you today?
Hello, Lynne. I'm great. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, thank you for joining us on Success is Never Accidental, which you know is one of my mantras. So thank you for joining us because your story is really fascinating. So we want you to tell us a little bit about how did you even get into motorsport in the first place and why navigate?
Yeah, so I suppose growing up, I always had an interest in cars. I would have attended various car events throughout the years. It would have been my husband who would have engaged in rallying. He would have been a navigator and a driver, and I suppose he seen my potential and passion for cars and suggested, why don't you become a navigator? And I'll teach you everything that I know. So back in 2014, Christmas time, my husband purchased me my first rally suit, and we took it from there. So I would have.
Well, that's fascinating, Gretchen, because we don't always do well whenever we're in sports with our partners. So how do you and your husband actually manage to stay married and successfully work together in rallying?
Yeah, so I suppose when me and my husband are together in rallying, we see each other as a team. And once we step into the car, we're not husband and wife, we're teammates. Obviously, communication is key. I actually see it a bit of an advantage for us being husband and wife together because we know each other's strengths and weaknesses as well. But it definitely is the boundaries and the relationship and communication is key for the two of us.
Yeah, I think that's so true in everything, isn't it? That you have to understand the game plan, you have to know the rules of engagement. So seeing each other as teammates and communicating in role is really, really important. So how did you become so successful?
Yeah, so I would have started my motorsport career out on the stages. So that's where I began. Myself and my husband would have been looking at old notes and practicing. And then we would have started out in 2015. Mayo Stages Rally would have been my first one. So again, it's the mindset. Although it was a new skill to me, to be competing in motorsport, I did set out that I wanted to win. And that was my goal. And with the hard work and preparations, we did win the Junior Border Championship that year. So it definitely was our mindset, but practicing what mistakes did I make, what could I improve, what did I need to keep developing. So it was the progression throughout the year that enabled me to succeed that year. Then recently, it would have been in October 2022. Again, I set a new goal, a new challenge, a new skill for a different element of motorsport, the night navigations. So again, it's completely new. But again, I set out that I wanted to achieve, again, that getting into that mindset of success. So again, with practice, I would have attended classes. I would have practiced on the roads, on the evening time, looking at old maps. Again, looking at what mistakes I might have made and fine-tuning it for the events. And again, in our first year of night navigations, I would have won the national championship in our beginner levels. So it definitely is it's a journey, but one that I put in an awful lot of hard work into.
That's amazing, isn't it? That's again, I always say success is a formula, and you've already hit on what some of the aspects of that formula are. You said mindset. Tell me about what kind of mindset do you need when you're out there on the road now, and maybe talk specifically about actually being in the desert, because that was a very different terrain from what you were used to, and you encountered some serious obstacles. So what kind of mindset do you need to be a successful motocross competitor?
Yeah, so being a woman in motorsport, you know, it's something that we mightn't have as many people engaging in the sport versus men in motorsport. So the mindset I would have is everyone's equal. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are, it's the effort you put in. I suppose with the Rally Jameel out in the desert, the application, even going back to the start of it, the application, I had the mindset. One of Monaghan Motor Club members approached me and said, "Did you put in your application?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And they were like, "Gretchen, you really should put your name forward." So it was getting into the mindset that yes, I am good enough. Yes, I have achieved goals, and I would be a suitable candidate for this amazing opportunity out in Rally Jameel. So the mindset is definitely knowing your strengths, believing in yourself, and the confidence there as well. Your mindset throughout the rally and navigational piece, whether it's in Ireland or out in Rally Jameel, is one of calm, someone who you're able to stay calm, you're in control, and that belief. As a navigator, in the terrain, in the desert especially, when I'm navigating and telling my driver which way to go, I need to be 100% confident that I'm right. There's no self-doubt there, that I am certain that this is the route we're taking. When I'm at home, it's very easy that you can put markers in place. For example, take a left at this building here. We're out in the desert, you're in a terrain that there's no tracks, mightn't see anybody around you. You're solely dependent on your navigational skills and that confidence there to believe that you're correct.
So important, because the driver is totally reliant on you to not just give instructions, but to give confident instructions, because you have to give her absolute certainty that, you know, that when she, that what speed she needs to take the bend out, where she's going, you know, whatever. So great. You talked about skills there, your navigation skills. So tell us, what skill set do you need for rallying?
Yeah, so again, it depends on the type of rallying. So with stages, there's a lot of preparation that goes in the day before with you and your driver. Whereas in the night navigational events, it's you're using coordinates to plot on a map. So it's, I definitely would say attention to detail is key in any element of motorsport. Um, you need to be specific, otherwise you're going to take the wrong turn, you're not going to get there on time, you're going to get penalties. So definitely the skill of attention to detail, I think, is paramount. Also even the skill of communication. So obviously I'm used to sitting with my husband in our motorsport, and going to Rally Jameel, it was myself and a new driver because it was a all women's event. So it was knowing what suited my driver, what communication, how the driver took in the information. So communication obviously is key, but also even the skill of knowing when your driver might suggest something to you, that you're taking that on board, that you are confident and you have that belief that you're correct, but it's also knowing when you might be wrong also, and taking that on board. So definitely the skills overall is communication, the relationship, and attention to detail.
Yeah, and building rapport with the new driver, absolutely critical. And you've talked about then you need for certain tools and strategies. So what are the tools that you need to be successful?
The tools that you need to be successful in rallying, again, I revert to at home or out in Rally Jameel, you definitely need to get into good habits. So physical preparation is key as well, because out in Rally Jameel, I know the distance that we were traveling was much longer than we would be at home. So for the listeners, usually a home event could be 100 kilometers, and we're obviously out in Rally Jameel, we covered a distance of approximately 1,600 kilometers over the 4 days. So physical preparation was key, and it was a tool that you could use again and again for your mindset to stay focused, but also for your body to be able to concentrate for that length of time. So definitely developing good habits was key. As I mentioned, the teamwork, and using the tools that you do have there. So when I was going out to Rally Jameel, it is different than home. It's a different way of navigating. It's a different navigational system. So I had to go home every night after work, and I was looking at old road books, and the best way I describe it to the listeners is the different symbols that Rally Jameel would use. So it's, taking in all this information and using these tools and skills that you've developed and putting them into practice when you're out in Rally Jameel in a completely different terrain, a completely different navigational system, and with a completely new driver as well. So
fantastic. And just the importance, you keep emphasizing the importance of preparation. And you said it about 5 times already. You prepare, you practice, you prepare, you practice, and you kind of make sure you're ready for everything. Well, tell us about some of the adventures that you have. I believe that you had to get out and push the car at one stage.
yeah, so it definitely was an experience I will never forget, one that I'm forever grateful to obviously represent myself, Monaghan Motor Club, Motorsport Ireland, and even the Women in Motor Club. The adventures we had over there were breathtaking. Out in the middle of the desert, you're out there and you're like, wow, I am representing my country out here. And you're driving by camels. There was day one, we got stuck in the soft sand. So I was out pushing my driver, and I was like, if you get going, you keep going, I'll come after you. We had an exploration of loads of different terrain, like rocks or open desert. It definitely was an experience of a lifetime, Lynn.
And the car stopped on you one day as well, Gretchen.
It did. So unfortunately, our car overheated on day 3. We were in a Jeep that would be quite close to the ground. So you're categorized into different classes based on the type of Jeep you have. So our Jeep was a wee RAV4, and it was quite low to the ground. So it did overheat, and it unfortunately stopped on us. So again, that was a challenge that me and my driver had to face together. Again, this is where your mindset comes in, your preparations. You're out in the desert and a very high heat there, and you're like, right, okay, what can we do? This is where the success really comes in, that you don't quit. I know we were only on day 3. We were close to the finish line. I wanted to get over that finish line on day 4 to complete the journey, but it was me and the driver working together to be like, okay, what do we need to do? So we let the Jeep cool down, and then we got the radiator opened, and we got water into the radiator, and we got over the finish line with only 7 minutes to spare that day. So it definitely was a challenge with physically, even the heat, trying to open the radiator and letting it cool, and ensuring that obviously the mechanical end of the Jeep was going. So there was loads of challenges, but I was very happy to see the finish line that day, but also delighted that I was able to compete the last and final day on day 4.
So it's great, isn't it, that you learn to ask yourself great questions, not why did this happen to us? The question is, what do we need to do to fix it?
Exactly.
And you go through your repertoire. Well, it's not this. Will we try that? So you keep asking great questions. And that's so important to maintaining a positive mindset, isn't it? That we ask ourselves questions that actually bring up options and solutions.
Exactly. You could have broke down in the middle of the desert and said, okay, that's it. You don't have a service crew coming behind you to mechanically fix it. You could have said, that's it, we'll pack up, we'll get it towed to the end of the day and we'll go home. Where that isn't the mindset I have. I'm like, right, okay, here's the problem. What can we do? Right, we mightn't be able to do X, Y, Z, but focusing on the solutions, focusing on what we can do now, devising a plan, staying calm and remaining focused. And even what's the learning from it? You know, the positive end of it is, you know, I know now if anything ever overheated at home, I know that I'd have the skills to deal with it. So it's taken the positives from a challenge.
Absolutely. And what is your resign now that you've been home a few weeks and you've had time to process everything that happened? What was your overall memory that stuck with you, and what was the greatest learning, Gretchen?
Oh, Lynn, that's a tough question now. I have lots of positive memories, even from the different competitors that I met and kept a communication with them even to now. The girls I met over there were amazing. So definitely even the professional relationships that you developed with people, definitely is something that I've taken away from it. I suppose the biggest learning for me, we had a personal coach speaking to me and the driver before we went out there, and the personal coach asked me, what is your goal for Rally Jameel? And I said, to win. I was going out there to win. So I know we came second in class, and for me it still is a success. We were competing against girls. It was the third time Rally Jameel had competed, so there was competitors there. There was 55 competitors from 35 different countries, but some of them that had competed in the two previous Rally Jameels, girls who are used to the terrain, driving in sand dunes, that would be their pastime. So you were going up there with the odds stacked against you. You know, we were going out there, as I say, never competing out in such terrain before, a new team. It's not our Jeep. You know, the odds were definitely stacked against me and my driver, but I was in the mindset that I wanted to go out and win for Ireland and for myself and my family and everyone else as well. So I suppose that is the biggest learning for me, that, you know, it doesn't matter what odds are stacked against you. It really is the effort that you put in. So the preparation, as I mentioned throughout the podcast, the preparation that I did before, looking at old road books, the physical preparation, attending the training that Rally Jameel submitted, meeting my driver to try to form that rapport very quickly. All that came into play and shows that you can be successful if you put your mind to it. That probably is the biggest thing for me. And I know everybody has their own definition of success, but mine is definitely being the best I can, you know, defeating the odds and really progressing. And I think the learning in it is, no matter what odds are against you, if you put your mind to it and prepare, you'll be able to achieve great things.
Well, I couldn't have concluded that more succinctly or more focused, Gretchen. So that's a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing such amazing insights into the formula, the mindset, the skill set, but most of all, I think the passion and the drive that is needed to be successful.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Thanks for having me on.
So many insights from Gretchen Swinburne, who represented Ireland in Rally Jameel in Saudi Arabia and came second out of 52 teams, some of whom had much, much more experience. So what do we learn from Gretchen? The first thing is her goal is to win every single rally that she takes part in it. If we enter anything, regardless of whether it's in work or in a hobby, we've got to be in it to win it. As second point was, as navigator, she works with the driver as part of a team and they play to each other's strengths. And she emphasized the importance of rapport and communication. This was a driver she had never rallied with before. So really important to build that relationship. Then she said you must have the knowledge and skills to get the job done, whether it's night navigation in Ireland or navigating through the desert in Saudi Arabia. Preparation and practice are absolutely critical to success. You need disciplines and good habits and hard work, and particularly in this particular field, attention to detail. She talked about the challenges they had at the car breaking down in the desert, and there'll always be challenges. But the way to overcome them, Gretchen said, is to believe you can do it and ask yourself great questions. What do we need to do to get this fixed, and being very solution focused? So she said her biggest learning was that it doesn't matter what the odds are. You can be successful if you believe in yourself, you have a clear goal, you set out to be the best you can absolutely be. You work hard, you prepare well, you have the knowledge and skills to get the job done, and you work as a team, and that you will always find a way. So Gretchen was a great example of the fact that success is never accidental. So listening to Gretchen today, what will you do differently in the week ahead? Join me next time on Success is Never Accidental.